Welcome to my Multiple Careers podcast. This is the 5th episode in the series Ikigai and Multiple Careers, where I'll talk about strategies to achieve flow and discover your Ikigai. In case you're new to this podcast, this is my Multiple Careers podcast, which for now I publish on my YouTube channel. My goal is to help people build fulfilling and meaningful careers and have a life with less regret. Today I'll talk about another strategy to increase your chances of increasing flow, loosely based on the book Ikigai, The Japanese Secret to a Long and Happy Life by Hector Garcia and Frances Miralles. Many of you listening to this might feel something lacking in your career and life and are hoping to find meaning and fulfillment. Perhaps you are unhappy in your job, or you are thinking if there is a career out there better suited to you. After listening to this episode, I hope that you'll get some insights and practical ideas on discovering your Ikigai and creating a more fulfilling and meaningful career for yourself. It may also make you reconsider whether or not you want to stay in your existing job and career or venture out to change jobs or even careers where you can easier and more frequently achieve flow. To recap the last episode, flow, according to the psychologist Csikszentmihalyi, is the state in which people are so involved in an activity that nothing else seems to matter. The experience itself is so enjoyable that people will do it even at great cost, for the sheer sake of doing it. Ikigai is the reason for being, the existential fuel that drives someone. This could be painting or doing research, helping people, or other things. Someone who is aligned with their Ikigai will have a more meaningful and fulfilling life. Not everyone knows what their Ikigai is, and it's not easy to find. And here's how I believe that Ikigai and flow are interconnected. If the activities you do, your work, is aligned with your Ikigai, it will be more easy to achieve flow. On the other hand, trying to achieve flow may help you to discover your Ikigai. There are 3 basic strategies for achieving flow mentioned in the book Ikigai. I will discuss these specifically from an angle of job and career. The first one I talked about in the last episode was to choose tasks with the optimum level of difficulty, meaning not too easy and not too hard. The second strategy, which I will get into now, is to have a clear and concrete objective. I bet that most of you play one or another form of video games. May that be PlayStation or simply Candy Crush or Tetris on your phone. I'm a sucker for Tetris, and when I play it, I become so absorbed and I don't want to stop. That is one of the activities where I achieve flow. Time passes and it's easy to blend out everything else. And one reason for that is because the objectives are clear. Crystal clear, I would say. There is no ambiguity whatsoever. In Tetris, the goal is to get a maximum score while not dying when the Tetris blocks overflow. Not only is the objective clear, but so are the tools. I know exactly what I gotta do and which buttons to hit. To top it off, there is immediate feedback. Each time after I hit a button, I see on the screen if I succeeded or failed, and that acts as an instant reward to me. Now, contrast that with what happens in companies, in big companies specifically. As the authors of Ikigai say about corporations, that there is an unclear communication of missions and goals in corporations. There's a lot of planning, a lot of meetings, but the objective is not clear, and when it comes to multiple layers of management, priorities are not aligned. Objectives get lost in details. And I can confirm this, and perhaps you can too. In many, or I dare say most corporations, there is lack of clarity. Or let me revise, there is clarity at the top layer. For example, during a town hall meeting where the CEO communicates the company's objectives. However, once that trickles down across multiple layers and hierarchies, the objective often gets diluted. It gets mixed up with various tasks, projects, conflicting messages into a soup that is hard to see through. A problem I also see is that often ownership of a task or project is not clearly assigned. This results in multiple people making disjointed efforts, a lot of redundancy and time wasted. This is demotivating for employees because they don't know what to focus on. Should they focus on the main objective or focus on keeping their boss happy? Ideally, both could be done at the same time. In any case, when you have a clear objective, you'll be able to work very well. There is little friction. There are still challenges, of course, but you always have clarity about what the main objective is and you know what you are working towards. On the other hand, if the objective is not clear, conflicting, or wishy-washy, then it's easy to get distracted. By the way, please do let me know in the comments in case you know what I mean and have experiences with this. It doesn't mean that the objective has to be fixed, as objectives can and should change based on the circumstances, but at least you need to know that for a defined time, this is the objective you're working towards. So what does this have to do with Ikigai and having a meaningful and fulfilling career? If you work on activities which mostly have a clear objective, it will be easier for you to achieve flow, and that in itself is fulfilling. On the other hand, if you know your Ikigai and live and work according to it, it likely means that you have a clear objective. For example, if you know your Ikigai to be research and you dedicate your life to research, as opposed to politics or for monetary gain only, then your efforts will be more directed to that work. It doesn't mean that you don't care about money at all. It just means that you don't have too many conflicting objectives. Let's now get to decision making. If you are now working in a job and a career in which objectives are clear, then it's likely that you experience flow pretty frequently, and chances are that you are quite fulfilled in your job. But if you're working in a job and career in which objectives are all over the place, you'll seldom experience flow and are constantly distracted. Now, what should you do? As I mentioned in the previous episode, there are two options. Option 1 is to stay in your job and create your own internal clear objectives, so you can get clarity and achieve flow more easily. Depending on your particular job and industry, it can be easy, hard, or even impossible to do though. Let's say you work as a 5-star cook at a Michelin restaurant. There are multiple objectives. The management, the owners, the critiques, and even the customers all want something slightly different. Some are related to finances and cost savings, some objectives are related to branding and image, and some with the actual satisfaction of the customer. Perhaps you are stressed and feel immensely pressured by the overwhelming number of metrics you need to look after. These are all realities to deal with, but it can be difficult to achieve flow with this. It is easy to get sucked up in all the noise, so you need to establish your own clear objectives within this framework because otherwise you'll get lost. Although there is confusion surrounding you, you need to set your own objectives, at least for the week or for the day, so you can be more efficient and at least derive some pleasure from your work and experience some episodes of flow. For example, your objective in a day might be to have each of your customers 100% satisfied with your dishes. That when you walk over to their table and ask them how was the food, everyone would have a big happy smile on their face. You'll have a clear indicator that you've achieved your objective. To achieve this objective when working, you'll immerse yourself 100% in preparing and plating the best dishes you can and get totally absorbed in it. And time flies. The framework within which you work might not be that conducive for flow, but you can create your own little pockets where you can get absorbed in your work by setting this clear objective. But what if you don't care or you can't come up with any objective at all? Your thoughts are spread across multiple things about your overhead cost, about what the critiques will say about the old interior of the restaurant. You are so misaligned with what matters to you, then perhaps you're in the wrong job or working for the wrong company. And here we get to option 2. You might want to find another company or another job which has clearer objectives and directions. With clear objectives and also with the tools to do your job well, it is no longer a struggle. And if these objectives align with your Ikigai, then you're likely in an excellent place. There is no excessive friction or strain, and in most tasks you work on, you experience flow. Of course, it takes time to not only find such a job, but also learn from experience what to look for. For a fresh graduate, this might be difficult to recognize. But if you had several jobs, then you can see red flags, if there is a lack of clarity in an organization. If this is severe, then I believe that even a high salary cannot compensate for this. Depending on whether or not you found your Ikigai, you might be confused at this point. You might feel unfulfilled in your job or career but don't know why. You might feel out of focus very often but can't put a finger on it and blame yourself. I believe the reason you experience this is if your job is not aligned with your Ikigai in the first place. Because if the core of your job is aligned with your Ikigai, you'll likely to be able to focus better and achieve flow more often. Let's break it down. You love designing clothes, for example, the activity of designing and making them. And you work for a fast fashion company, let's say H&M or Zara, and you thought that you're working in a field that aligns with your Ikigai. But you find out after working there for a while that on a daily basis, you are mostly concerned with coordination and management and rarely have anything to do with picking a collection. You might feel disenchanted. If you are working as a receptionist at a dentist's office and like administration, but half of your time you have to deal with customer complaints for the dental services given, then you might feel you lack a clear objective. Is your job to optimize appointments and communicate these with customers and staff? Or is your objective to appease angry customers and put out fires? On the other hand, there are people who love dealing with customers, both happy ones and complaining ones, but they dread doing any kind of admin or paperwork. This is often the case with salespeople. They love the engagement with a customer, but they hate the 50% or 40% of their time when they have to do admin. So what's the solution? Either you stick to it and try to make admin work enjoyable by setting your own objective. For example, have a backlog of maximum 3 days of admin work, or move to a different company or industry where they have a better system set up in the first place. A system that allows you to focus on your core skills that you enjoy using and where you can achieve flow more easily. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. Do you prefer sticking to a job that is not optimal for achieving flow, but try to maximize flow as much as you can? Or would you prefer moving to a job or a different career in which flow can happen more naturally? In the next episode, I'll talk about strategy 3, which relates to multitasking. If you're listening to this on YouTube and don't want to miss the next episode, don't forget to subscribe and hit the little alarm bell. Also, check out my other content on building a meaningful and fulfilling career. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you in the next episode.